console wars are sadly a part of the gaming industry that's probably not going to go away at all. Maybe one day, but not going to count on it. Has been around pretty much since the 16-bit era, with Sega and Nintendo taking pot shots at each other, and of course has carried over into the more recent generation. Now, of course, this kind of had a small part in the recent Xbox One S advertising campaign, which of course revolved around the features that it did have versus the one that its rival, the PlayStation 4 Slim, didn't have. However, we have some interesting comments from Phil Spencer with GameSpot today, how he doesn't actually like console wars and doesn't think that pointing out, hey, we've got this advantage over our competitors is unfair or aggressive, but instead quote unquote fair game. And he went on to say, quote, I think us stating a feature that we have in our box that we think is an important selling feature of our box is completely within fair game. It is a feature of our box, and for somebody to look and say that talking about the features that you decide, we made a bet on a 4K Blu-ray disc, and they didn't. And I'm not saying they made the wrong decision and we made the right decision, but if someone wants a 4K UHD Blu-ray drive, and we have a console that has one, then we're going to make sure that people know that. And if people say that's console wars, I think they're wrong. And to be totally fair to Phil Spencer, he's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we have this thing, because, well, you have the thing. It's your job to sell. Both Sony and Microsoft have been pretty civil this time around with the PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One. Of course, there's some jabs here and there, but nothing I describe as like a quote-unquote console war. It's just Sony going at the start, hey, we have more power, and now Microsoft going with the Xbox One S, hey, we have a 4K Blu-ray drive. So again, if you as a customer want a console that also happens to play a 4K Blu-ray, well, the Xbox One S has it. And, Phil Spencer does believe in respect between the companies themselves. He has congratulated Sony many times. And, of course, you remember the rather famous congratulations that they had towards Sony for the success of Bloodborne. There has been quite the civility between the two companies, but, of course, they are there to sell their machine. They want to say, this is why you should buy our thing. And he said, quote, I will always be respectful of my friends at the other platform holders, Nintendo, Sony. I have a lot of friends at Sony and Nintendo, and both these companies are doing their best to deliver products based on their vision, and I respect that. You won't see me badmouth what the other platforms are doing, but I am proud of the product decisions we make, and I think we should be able to talk about it. I would have PlayStation fans tweet me, happy that Recall wasn't getting great review scores from some outlets. I just thought it was such a negative thing for our industry, for somebody to be gleeful that somebody gave a game a review that was lower than what the team expected. I don't have more fun on my Xbox based on the review scores of games that are on PlayStation or vice versa. And as I said already, he's not wrong, to be honest. It's not console wars, quote unquote, to point out that, hey, we have a feature that our competitor doesn't. That's just basic business to say, hey, we have a thing, because at the end of the day, they are there to sell their machine. And again, he has been respectful. He has made very respectful comments, and as I said, he has had a history of congratulating Sony before for their successes, like I already mentioned with Bloodborne. So he has shown himself to be a bit of a class act since, well, forever ago. So this is very much in character for Phil, and I must say I am very much in agreement with him. Staying on the topic of Microsoft for a moment, I have some comments from the infamous industry analyst Michael Pachter of Wedbush Securities. Now, he had a recent interview with the Daily Star where he discussed a few things, namely his feeling that Microsoft have very much turned the Xbox One around after the good ship Don Matrick almost sunk. But he also talked about what he feels is Microsoft's quote-unquote inferiority complex. Oh, before I continue, a link to his comments plus an RGT article on Phil Spencer's comments and the original interview will be in the description below. But, moving on, Michael Pachter. He said, quote, I don't know if it matters to Microsoft if they're in second place. I think it should matter to them if they sell 20 million fewer than they should. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. If the winner and loser was 100 million versus 90 million, I don't think anybody cares, but if it's 100 million versus 50 million, I think Microsoft cares, because they know if there are 150 million consoles sold, they should have at least made a valiant effort to capture half of that. I think that's the problem of being second. I think Microsoft has an inferiority complex right now that they're so far behind. They're so behind in the US, which had never happened before. They didn't expect that at all. Seems a bit harsh to call it an inferiority complex there, Michael. Just throwing that out there. I mean, Microsoft probably don't care whether or not they beat Sony, because there has to be a winner, that is much as true. But they probably do care about the amount of units they've sold and the fact that they're behind in the US, which, as he says, is a new thing for them. But they're probably more focused on the fact, like, yeah, we're bringing it back, the Xbox One S is doing really well, people are interested in the Scorpio, it's, you know, finally it's starting to pick up traction rather than having a quote-unquote inferiority complex. I mean, phrasing, Michael, is all I'm saying. Oh dear, fun times. As always, guys, stuff in the description. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything I've discussed in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.